Welcome, everyone. This is Polly Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Sanswinda,
Hello.
Guarendis,
Hello, everyone.
and Calabathian. With that, we will head into our game news for this week, where on the Honor server, Mordor is now live and is open, though I suspect you just can't simply walk into it, most likely.
Unless you happen to be a high elf. Then you, or a nice particular dwarf, stout axe. I mean, then you can walk into Mordor. It's just really tricky to come back out.
No, actually, if you're stout axe, you were born there probably, but you run out.
You run out. Yes, you run out is what you do there. And as for the High Elves, they came in with an army originally.
Well, yes, but they just walked in.
Well, I think march is probably a more applicable term.
Well, they were walking in file and rank in step.
Yeah, but that wasn't just walking in.
It was a silly walk, okay? But still. The Ministry of Silly Walks doesn't just walk into Mordor, okay?
Okay. Does that make Elrond the Minister of Silly Walks? Well, I guess technically it would have been Gil-galad, but
I would say yes.
Gil-galad.
Minister Gil-galad. What silly walk shall we use to confront Sauron?
That is an interesting question for another day. Yeah, so now they raised the level cap up to 115, and now you have access into Mordor, into Northern Mirkwood, and to Erebor, and the Iron Hills, I believe, also. So plenty of stuff to which to do now on that server. Also, Cordovan, on his regular Friday stream, he had a little discussion with the LOTRO producer, and these were questions that were submitted by people who follow LOTRO on the Reddit. So the Reddit community brought in these questions, and they were answering them all the way through and asking types of questions you usually hear people asking about state of PvP, what their plans are for Gundabad, and the legendary items, and the LI revamps. Although, actually, I already said the LI revamp, but was the brawler. So asking questions on those things. Nothing definitive yet. It looks like a lot of the answers, of course, are we're working there, we're getting closer, and we'll be able to announce more in the near future. With that, let's into our LOTRO Beacon, which is issue 216. And for our community spotlight this week, the BBBs celebrate their 10th anniversary concert today on Landreval, and you could read more about that on LOTRO Artists. Are you laughing?
Business Bureau?
That's Bard's Beers and Longbeards. It doesn't start until supposedly a minute till midnight. I was up late last night anyway. I really kind of tempted to be up just to see some of the mayhem tonight. I have kind of mentioned it in passing before. It's definitely the PG-13 part of the game, if not a little bit farther on yet. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. Midnight tonight, if you're listening live, and you can get to Landreval, come join the crazy.
It's human PG-13. For elves, it's like XXX. It's racy.
Yes.
It's banned in every elf region in Middle Earth.
Not a whole. Well, there are some elves. I was going to say there's not a whole lot of elves, but there's usually at least a line of high elves dancing Dance 3. But
All right. So, in other words, it's really the
It might not be
well,
pine leaf friendly.
it might not be piney friendly. Okay, let's see. It's
Is it pine leaf acquaintancy? Like give
all
you a
right,
knock
all
on
right.
the street and passing and not just like flip you off and yell at you
It's
kind of
it's
thing?
kind of like the what happens in Brie stays in Brie.
All right. Yes, somehow giving a because of course when I read this, I assumed that it was starting at the same time and not at 11:59.
Minute before midnight.
Yes, and they probably only were starting at 11:59 is so they could still say it started on Saturday.
Technically, yeah. Most of the people that are going to be at that probably will be around the pony long before then, but
Well, for the
just hanging out.
pre-party,
Well, yeah. Well, there's bands that play all the way up until midnight, usually on Saturday evenings.
oh, you got a point there.
Everybody else hangs out at the pony drinking.
So is Radagast Pipe one of those
That
music
was
groups
earlier
that's doing the
today.
pre-show?
That was earlier today.
That was earlier today. Okay. Then the Mickle Delving Market is a biweekly Hobbit market in Laurelland, and you could learn more about that on LOTRO Artists. I'm trying to think, it's a market, but it's on LOTRO Artists.
I'm just boggling at the weekly Hobbit market. Are we buying hobbits or are hobbits selling things?
Well, more information you can be found out on the Grand Order of the Lost Matham Kin page.
Okay.
Oh, this is kind of interesting. When I did click on Lotro Artists, it does say, especially good for young hobbits setting out on their journeys in Middle Earth, since they can get quality goods for reasonable prices. It's put on by the Grand Order of the Lost Matham.
So are they buying these Mathams, or are all the Mathams lost, so therefore they
Well, I mean,
can't
right now
sell
you
any?
can fish them out of a pond. I mean,
Well, there is that little technicality.
if you're
Yeah, and as a
lucky,
matter
they'll
of
be
fact,
dry.
it's one of those Mathams are one of those things where during this festival, everyone says, "Bring your Mathams because we're going to chuck them in the pond, and everyone's going to go fish them out." And you get what you get. So technically, what they're actually doing is, oops, I must have lost it. So lost Mathams are, quote unquote lost right now.
Somehow, I've got like a whole new appreciation of the Matham fishing as like some kind of Hobbit, pink elephant type of gift giving party thing here.
Well, isn't that what half of all Hobbit birthday parties are, effectively?
No, Hobbit birthday parties are just feasts. It's an excuse to eat more than they usually do.
Well,
Yes, and
hobbits
they
do give
also
gifts.
yes, the
But it's all
host
about the
gives
food. If they're giving a gift, it's probably food.
no, a lot of them are Mathams also.
Yeah,
I actually
there is a
looked up.
mention in the book about how like some Mathams like get passed around for generations.
Yes.
Yes, and I actually looked up what because I was curious. I was like, "What in the heck is a Matham?" And it's basically junk.
Pretty much.
And I'm like, "Oh, so Mathams that get passed around for generations. It's like someone brings a fruitcake and they just pass that fruitcake around for generations and nobody eats it."
Well, if the fruitcake's been going around for generations, I go, it probably wouldn't be good for eating
Just
anymore.
scrape the mold off; it'll be fine. Oh wait, that's cheese.
At this point, nobody's supposed to eat it. It's just we pass it around. It's the gag gift that keeps on giving. It's a Matham.
Leonori in the chat says the hobbits mastered regifting.
Yeah.
Yes. Ah, yes, the Masters of Regift. That's it. Let's then head out to the Kin Hall, where the kinship forums aren't just a place to find a guild. Tinkerspell is a long-time MMO player on Brandywine looking to join a kinship, and posting about it on the forums is a great way to get an invite. Read more on the kinship forums. And now for a weekly comment. What else should you be able to pull from the lake during the farmer's fair?
Excalibur.
Evidently, fruitcake.
Excalibur.
Excalibur.
Farcical aquatic ceremony.
Actually, some of those rusty swords that you pull out sometimes are boots or whatever. It's like, what? But I don't know that you get those during the farmer's fair. Do you?
Never more amused than doing tasks for Radagast and actually having to fish those kind of things out on purpose to turn in.
I think during the farmer's fair, though, you should be able to actually fish up farmers' tokens. The fair
You're about to
tokens.
say you should
Ooh.
fish up farmers.
No, the festival tokens. They should just sometimes get caught on the hook on your line.
I'm sorry, now all of a
Throw 'em
sudden,
in.
I do agree with Sans, but all of a sudden, because Calabathian said, now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's what happened to the farmers that the pigs judged.
I mean, maybe that's what happened to them. Maybe they even had pouches of festival tokens that you could occasionally dredge up. That would be pretty cool.
That'd be
I'm going
very
to throw
cool.
my hook in here, and then when I pull it out, there's a farmer on the end, and he hands me a token.
He's soaking wet and mad, and he hands you a token.
He's covered in weeds.
Now, I could just imagine. As for bait, I'll use a maggot, so I'll pull out Farmer Maggot.
Yeah.
It would be really funny if you did catch a farmer and they came up spluttering about those pigs that judged the...
Right. Actually, with all this stuff you're saying that people are pulling out, I would hope they occasionally pull out some fish.
Well, that already happens.
Okay.
This is just additional things that you should be able to pull out.
All
You
right.
pull up a slaughter fish. Oops.
Yikes!
Put back.
Thank
Don't-
A little
goodness.
too deep.
Don't swim in the Bywater pool.
Run away, run away.
Let's just hope that there aren't any slaughterfish in Bywater.
Yeah.
Moria, I could say down deep in Moria.
There
That's
probably
where
are
they
in Carn Doom. You can't really tell from the day spa, but I'm sure there's some at the bottom of it.
Well, that's
Carn
probably
Doom-
responsible for half the deaths in the day spa.
I'd say so. It's not really that the water is acidic and dissolves us. It's that the slaughterfish just kind of annihilate us as we dip our toe in.
No, both happen, and it's hard to tell which because you're dead.
Kind of like if you get shot as you fall out of a 10-story window and have a heart attack. What kills you, the heart attack or the bullet? I mean,
Or the fall.
it doesn't matter. You're dead.
You're dead.
Let someone else worry about it.
Oh, relax and enjoy the death.
You're kind of beyond all that worry right now.
Yeah. Let's then head into the fan site news, where last week we get some strange pants.
As you do.
Yes. And for LOTRO Stream is your first stop to find LOTRO on Twitch. This week, the Token Professor delivers Druid's Fire, Tidies, and Red Baron guides you through the Farmer's Fair.
I
Also,
totally need more glasses because I thought that said Druid's Fire tildes, and I'm like, what? What's he tildeing? Why are we putting tildes on things, and why is this memorable and notable? Anyway, continue.
also on Twitch, Zendros TV learns the Warden. Traviatum streams from the Inferno of Sounds Festival on Guahir, and Emela's Quest in Eriduane. And over on YouTube, older gamer girl goes on a treasure hunt. Netharian, the ranger, reps up Archit, and Louis 7 solos on a Runekeeper. Fibro Jedi is keeping his Farmer's Fair guide updated, and you could get help with the event over on the Fibro Jedi blog. Hallandale has long had a great guide on adventuring in Mordor, so anyone encountering this region in LOTRO for the first time on Honor can read the guide over on the LOTRO forums. And Laurel's Den is keeping track of the legendary server titles and other awards. You can get the latest over on Laurel's Den blog. Oh, let's have a look at the screenshot of the week where Creeps from Instagram sends in this screenshot called Catching the Moon. Thanks for sending it in. Email your screenshot submissions by sending it to lotro@stayingstonegames.com.
That is a really cool shot.
I like it.
Yes. How many points do you get for catching the moon?
Is the moon an LI?
Hopefully they're practicing catch and release.
Catching and release. Yes. And that's it for the LOTRO Beacon this week and for our game news. So let's head into our store sales. And Guarandis, what's on sale this week?
Go there and back again. 20% off of Milestone Skills, Hurried Traveler and Returning Traveler, Advanced Riding Traits, and Rally Horns through August 26th. And your weekly coupon gets you a free regeneration food ×5. But the code is great. Om nom nom.
Nom nom nom.
So,
I'm not too sure too many people om nom nom cram, though.
well, and regen food is like the yeah. I mean, they give you cram for free anyway.
Yes.
I don't use either, really. Actually, I take that back. I think I've used Daleman's cram once in my LOTRO experience, and that's because I didn't have anything else in my bag, and I was trying to stay alive from the brie on one of my characters, and I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Usually, I would sometimes use cram if I need a lot of regeneration for a short period of time, since the cram is better than the regular food, but it lasts a lot long. It lasts a lot shorter.
Yeah.
And you really actually can't om nom nom lembus because it's lembus. If you om nom nom lembus, you wind up like the hobbits. It's like just one little bite will last you for a long time. And it's like, well, I've eaten 3.
Oh well. Let's then head into our site news, where apparently Cordovan wasn't the only person who interviewed the LOTRO producer, because Andang also interviewed the LOTRO producer and posted that at our site, so you could check over there, where they discussed many of the same things that we're going in. They're also talking about the expansion, of course. They're talking about LI changes and potential monetization changes that may be coming up. And you could check that over at the LOTRO Players site. And that's it for the news this week. So let's head into our week in gaming. And Calabathian, what were you up to?
Mostly Star Wars and trying to do a bunch of stuff offline that stressed me out. But I did rejoin the Friday group this past Friday, or yesterday. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time since yesterday. So for LOTRO, in the group, we discussed the possibility of a Creepside Sans Baicha. And Sans Baicha could be a spider or a warg, but will always bite you. Hence the name. Because really on Creepside, those are the only 2 things that, their attack is biting somebody. is your warg and your spider, which is actually kind of ironic because Sans does actually have both a spider and a warg. They aren't called Sans Baicha though. On Star Wars, where I spent most of my time this week. First of all, I went running around the game trying to damage my sniper's brain again. Let that sink in for a minute. I also came to realize that there would be a lot less evil Jedi if the Jedi took mental health seriously. They have a Jedi counselor. That's not a counselor. They need a Jedi psychologist is what they need. They need that because then they could actually help people and that have problems like, I lost my entire family to the Sith and, dealing with their anger issues, and then they wouldn't turn to the Sith and go to the dark side later on.
Oh, well. I guess I always assumed that Jedi counselor meant a diplomat type counselor as opposed to a psychological type.
Yes.
Or like a lawyer kind.
A lawyer, a diplomat. They have warriors, they have diplomats. The one thing they don't have is the way to actually improve mental health and stop a lot of people going to the dark side. You would think that would be number one on their list.
Well, they teach that you should just not be touched by fear and anger.
And if you are, crickets chirp.
If you are, recite the litany of fear. Oh, wait, wrong IP.
So yeah, it kind of came to me as I was running around doing stuff, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a big hole there. But anyway, I also decided to try farming for Tauntauns on Hoth. The process of which, they have two of them that you can get. One of them you can only get if you're a subscriber, and the other one you can get if you're anybody. And you have to get a particular number of, not necessarily credits, but, an item that you can turn in, and you basically would trade it in. And the subscriber one is 15, and the non-subscriber one is 20. Now, in order to get these things, you have to go to a nest of Taun fawns, baby Tauntauns or Taun fawns. I didn't know that either. And there are 3 per nest, and they're in various places. And you have to give them a fruit, each one of them a fruit. And there's only a 20% chance of success in drawing an adult protective Tauntaun to the nest, which then draws a gold mob, high-level predator, a wampa, that you have to kill in order to get that little trade paper. You only get one. Now you can do this for all 3 of those little Taunfawns, baby Tauntauns, and you can do this and get more than one at from each nest. So yeah, you do that, and I actually found a place online that said here's how to do it, pretty quick. And the worst part of it is basically going to and from the nests, because you can basically do these 3 nests in a row. So you get 9 tries at getting, what you need. And then each little, you can then go to a different instance in the same place. And there's like 2, 3, 4, 5 instances, depending on any time of the day, how many people are on this planet, and do it all over again with the same character. So, yeah, it's not that bad. I actually managed to, have a nice good run, and I think I got like 4 or 5 just in that, on one alt, one of my characters, because then you can bring another character in and do it again and send that to your character. And it's like, if you need 15, you do that with 2 or 3 alts and you get 4 each. Yeah, you got it. And then you can also buy them for like 100,000 credits, which if you have like 1 million and something credits is fine. If you have 2 million, you can just buy it, 20 of them and you whatever. But it's cheaper, a little more time consuming, but cheaper to do that little bit of a grind. And I say that because I decided to try farming them just to see how bad it would be. It's not that bad. it's actually really easy. I found it almost soothing, which I attribute to the fact that the LI grind on LOTRO is actually heinous right now, and it's burned me out. But then you go in, and this is very, very simple and easy, and it's like, oh, okay, I like this. I think I'll do it on all of my characters. So yeah, just so you know, it's not a bad grind. I would rather grind for a Tauntaun any day of the week than try to finish out my LIs right now. Which I hear they're supposed to have the LI thing change coming out, or testing coming out before Gundabad, right?
Yeah.
And what was the time frame that they said on that?
Well, I think they're saying it's weeks.
Weeks. Okay. So yeah, right now, that's where I am. I'm like, you know what? If I have any scrolls or whatever, I may go ahead and use them. I don't think I do, but if I do, I'll use them, and then we'll wait, because I think they mentioned if you do have scrolls, don't, that you're backing up, or starlit crystals or whatever, go ahead and use them. So I may go through and kind of use some stuff, but right now, yeah, I was in for a long haul with these Tauntauns. Like, OMG, how much am I going to hate this? And yeah, I don't hate it. I was pleasantly surprised. It was great. Anyway, Where? How about you?
Well, my Hobbit Hunter still hasn't had much luck at the races. So the offer still stands. If you're on Landerval and you want to know who not to bet for, hit me up. Yeah. All of this because I want an emote. Thursday turned into a Moria instance cluster deeding run for Guarindus. She has 14 new titles.
14.
Well, I mean, I really want the Nimble Black Goat. I had, I think, 3 of the 5 done. I've cleared out 1, which I hadn't done a lot of. So yeah, Scoomfill I've had my fill of Scoomfill. However, that did give me one of my favorite titles from it, which was the Brilliant. Watchwoman, I'd finally got. That was the first thing I finished off. The Watcher in the Water, and it was actually funny. I was wearing that when I was at the party tree and ended up talking to an RP and a role playing Bounder of the Shire and a couple of his deputies. That was fun. They seemed to treat me with respect. I think maybe it was the title that helped. But like Diviner, Light in the Dark, Mistress Over Fear. Yeah, there was a lot of them, and a lot of like the Slayer ones too. But yeah, 14 new titles in one day. I was so tired by the end of that day.
I could imagine.
I have dusted off my minstrel, who mostly knows how to open daily ingredient crates. She's been hanging out at the kin house, parked right by the crates. She can run inside and tuck things away in the vault with the banker inside if she needed to for some reason. Yeah, she's been hanging out there for a very long time. But I have dusted her off, and I am become a companion to Luanori Stoutshield's little brother, Nuanori, who is a brand new baby dwarf champion. It's actually kind of been a lot of fun. I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I haven't really done a lot of like running on the minstrel and doing healing. I didn't have anybody I was running with. I was just a skald before Redline. So this will be fun. In ESO, I managed to sneak around Cyrodiil on a fairly unsneaky character. My Ms. Shiny, the Templar who like yells and launches herself at everything, kills things, but managed to sneak around and go from Transitus to Transitus and completed the weekly endeavor, which was doing a whole great deal of repairing on structures. I happened to look into a morning where I logged into Blackreach, and we only had like, kind of the upper corner of the map, the normal like kind of upper corner, but it started expanding, and before I had logged off, the town, the Cyrodiil, the town was enringed, and we had a new emperor instead of the Aldmeri Dominion. Daggerfall Covenant had a new emperor. And yeah, I kept going around and saying, okay, they've already been there and they're pushing on. So I go to the keeps behind them and keep repairing all the walls and the postern gates. And then and it's like I got the weekly endeavor. I got that done and earned some AP. I was like about halfway through level 4, but just logging in and getting my daily gifts, they have great login gifts from time to time on ESO, and you can tell what's coming up. You know to log in and get the other stuff, even if you aren't really excited about it, as opposed to the kind of the RNG thing that I have that gives me tomes of tracking on Hunter on LOTRO. It's you can kind of gear for it, and it was like 150,000 alliance points that I got yesterday. I went up 2 levels. I went from level 4 to level 6. I unlocked a bunch of skills now that I can use that would have probably not happened in my lifetime if I hadn't had that opportunity. So I'm very excited about that. I still need to press in and get to leveling one of them that I've equipped now that I got from that. But yeah, I was kind of proud of myself for sneaking around by myself in Cyrodiil. There was one point in time where I was going around a keep and went to repair the main gate and realized that, oh, great big red bubble, oh, they're trying to knock it down. And I looked and I couldn't take the transitus anymore, so I went running out the back postern gate and rode like the wind to get back to safe area all by myself, and managed to do it without anybody sniping me and killing me. So I'm very excited and happy about that. Sanzwinda, what have you got up to this week?
Well, this week I made it to level 13 on my Bjorning, playing on Deadly on Shadowfax, and it was pretty awesome. And Yahi reached level 30 while dancing with the Elves today, so that was pretty fun. And I learned about the awesomeness of boats and Endermen in Minecraft. So we went to the end, and if you put down a boat, you can get up to 2 Endermen stuck in it, and then you can attack them with impunity, so long as you don't accidentally hit another Enderman around. Which happened once, and Krister saved me with a well-placed boat between the Enderman who was charging me and me. And I only had 1 heart left, so that was pretty cool. But then I got a little bit overconfident, and I decided to use the third-person view so that I wasn't looking through the pumpkin, and I learned not to accidentally hit the boat instead of the Enderman, because I accidentally hit the boat and let the 2 Endermen out, and they were very unhappy with having been hit, and promptly killed me. So, do note that while boats trap Endermen in Minecraft and make for a much easier Enderman hunt, if you accidentally hit the boat with your sword, it will one-shot the boat and free the Endermen, and they will be ready for revenge. So, yeah, that happened. But I got all my stuff back, and all of Krister's stuff back that I was holding, because he had accidentally been killed by Enderman just before that. So, that was my week. How was your week, Pineleaf?
And I'll begin with my Honor Warden, who is now back in action, where I rescued a pair of hobbits that had lost a piece of jewelry for some reason. And on our Tuesday group, we finished up our little history lesson on a Dwarven war. We have a few epilogues to take care of, but the main part of the history lesson itself, we have finally finished. So now we know what happened on those times years ago at the gates of Moria. And on our LPN Minecraft server group, we already had Sanzwinda talking about the wonders of attacking Endermen in boats. While they were doing that, after I killed a few Endermen also in there, I decided to start trying to build bridges so that we could have a reasonably safe passage from the island where we were hunting the Endermen to the nearest end city. I don't know if the one I found is actually the nearest end city, but I think it was the easiest one to reach. So now we're able to go back and forth between that. We did not start a raid on it because it's pretty late then, but I'm hoping that tonight we'll have an opportunity to try to raid this and maybe even gain a few shulker boxes. I've never attacked an end city before, so that should be an interesting little experience, shall we say. Then also on the Damsels and DDO Minecraft server, where we invaded a mine shaft, and while we were invading the mine shaft, we found a skeleton spawner. So naturally, when we finished up on that, I thought, well, this looks like a good opportunity to build a skeleton farm and to get revenge, because when the skeletons did kill me while I was doing this, because it happened that this skeleton spawner was in a very, very inconvenient place for the players to reach. They have all these skeletons spawning all over the place, and it's hard for me to reach up there in order to put some light into there. But we eventually managed to do it, and I built a skeleton farm out of it. It's very similar to the one that I built for the LPN Minecraft server. There are some tweaks to it from lessons learned from that one, and it seems to be working pretty well. And of course, we have the same conundrum that we have on the LPN one, and that is what to do with all these bows and armor that's dropped by the skeletons. And I decided perhaps this is an opportunity to let the two problems, shall we say, help each other out. And what I decided to do was that I'd set up an auto smelter next to the array of barrels where I'm keeping all this stuff in there. And if I see a bow that we receive that I think is not up to snuff, and of course, the longer you have one of these things up, the stricter your criteria is for what it means for a bow to be up and stuff. But if I run into a bow that's not up to snuff, I toss it into a barrel at the auto smelter. And if I see a piece of armor, a metallic armor that I think is not quite up to snuff, I toss that into a different barrel on there. And effectively, what I'm doing is I am using the bows as fuel to melt the armor. And that way we can have a little bit less overflow in the barrels that we have in there, and maybe try to only keep the best of the best from the bows and from the armor that's dropped from the skeletons. And meanwhile, we're collecting arrows because on Thursday, when we first went into the mine shaft, we were pretty much trying our best to scrape up arrows. But now, of course, arrows are starting to overflow because that's what happens. And of course, the other lesson I learned this week is that it is not a good idea to build a sheep farm beneath a warehouse. And you say, well, what's the problem with doing that? And the trouble is that the noise the sheep make is enough to drive anyone crazy. I'd say no sane person would keep a sheep farm beneath their warehouse, and that's because if you're sane when you build the thing, you're not sane after a week of keeping it there. So I've sort of gotten rid of that sheep farm, and I'm going to think of something a little bit quieter to put downstairs.
I don't suppose llamas would be an improvement.
No, llamas will not be an improvement.
I was going to say, so after a week, are you sheepish?
Oh no, I tore the thing down in less than 24 hours. That was,
Sheepish much earlier.
yeah. So, yes, because I think that if I had kept it up for a week, I would have been driven crazy. And that's our week in LOTRO. Our top supporter this month is LOTRObuild.com. LOTRObuild.com is a full set of LOTRO databases, which includes an items database, a relics database, and a titles database. Also, you can use it right from discard using LOTRObuild bot. We currently have 16 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the donations page. You can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money would be used for podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. We did not receive any emails. So if you would like, since when, you can send it to podcast@lotrplayers.com. We also have Twitter. Players Alliance @Players Ally, Loch Players @LochPlayers, Arendis @Arendis, Pineyfit Pineyneals, Sanswinda @Sanswinda, Teriadwin @Teriadwin, Guarendis @Guarendis, and Calabathian @Calabathian. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time, we have Loch Players News. You can join us for our shows at LotroPlayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pineyneals reminding you to skirmish responsibly.